So I cannot be in class. In today's interconnected world, engineering transcends national borders, making an understanding of global practices indispensable, even for those intending to work domestically. Cultural competence is no longer optional. It's a critical skill for implementing projects and forging international partnerships. Ethical engineering decisions are complex and global in nature, with diverse laws and standards shaping our professional integrity and the safety of the communities. Moreover, the drive for sustainable solutions to global challenges like climate change demands a collective international engineering effort. Whether or not you plan to work abroad, the global context of engineering will inevitably influence your career, highlighting the importance of being globally aware and adaptable in rapid evolving professional landscapes. I need to point out, ich spreche Deutsch. I used to live in Germany. I do have direct international experience. When I got back from Germany after I was done with the IEP program, I decided I didn't really want to deal with international anything. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be domestic. Ultimately, I ended up working for the Navy. Very American organization. One of the most American organizations you can ever work for. My thought process was, this is domestic. Unless there's a big conflict, I'm staying here in the US. Not true. I worked for Foreign Military Sales. FMS. Fucking mechanical shit. I specialized in understanding the needs of other navies and selling them weapons. I honestly believed I'd never leave the US for work ever again, and I was sorely mistaken. If you are operating under the impression that you are going to stay in the US for work, that might be true, but there's a good chance you also won't be successful. So you need to plan on being a global engineer. All right, repeat after me. Engineers, the fulfillment of their professional duties shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. Perform services only in areas of their competence. Issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. Act for each employer or client as a faithful agent or trustee. Avoid deceptive acts. Conduct themselves honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully so as to enhance the honor, reputation, and usefulness of the profession. All right. In our exploration of global engineering ethics, it's crucial to understand that the landscape of manufacturing production has fundamentally changed. In my experience working with the Navy, I've encountered the challenging reality that the concept of products being made in the US has become increasingly rare, particularly for custom items or those produced in small quantities. This shift has necessitated a reevaluation and frequent rewriting of specifications to adapt to the global market. The craftsmanship, once synonymous with American quality, has, in many cases, been outsourced overseas. This transition underscores the importance of cultural considerations and ethical standards in engineering, as we must now ensure the quality and integrity within a diverse and international supply chain. Recognizing these challenges and benefits is part of the broader understanding of global engineering projects where collaboration and ethical diligence across borders have become indispensable. Imagine you're working for an international renewable energy firm. You're tasked with leading a project to design a solar-powered water purification system for a series of remote villages in Southeast Asia. Your team is as diverse as the challenge itself, with experts from 6 different countries, each bringing their own unique perspective to the table. The project embodies the essence of global engineering. It's not just about creating a system that works, but one that fits seamlessly into the local context. You and your team use advanced communication tools to collaborate across time zones, allowing yourself to literally work 24/7. Additionally, you use these tools to share designs and feedback in real time. You have to consider the local climate, available materials, economic conditions, and cultural practices. For instance, your design can only consist of material that's purchasable in the Southeast Asia area, limiting your design options, but you're still required to maintain a high level of durability, efficiency, and repairability. Your daily routine is a mosaic of global interactions. Each morning, you're decoding the straightforward feedback from your German colleagues, their precision driving the project forward. By noon, you're the diplomat, articulating progress and concerns with finesse that respects the diverse community styles of your American and Asian counterparts. This project is a testament to the power of the global engineering defined. It's a symphony of diverse expertise, cultural empathy, and technological innovation, all orchestrated to address a common human need. This is an example of how engineers today are not just problem solvers, but also bridge builders between worlds. Expect to be part of a large interconnected team, often a team of teams, where each group bringing expertise in a critical area for the project. For instance, one team might understand the intricate physics of desalination, while the other manage the logistics of material sourcing, project economics, or assessing construction and labor availability. Navigating international markets for material means considering not just the base cost, but also the shipping expenses, tariffs, and local availability, which can vary widely from the US to South Korea or the Middle East. Moreover, effective global collaboration requires not just technical expertise, but also cultural intelligence. For example, the direct communication style preferred by some teams, like your German colleagues, may be adept when interacting with teams from cultures where such directness might be perceived as abrasive. This could mean maintaining separate communication channels or providing intercultural training to facilitate smoother interactions. Being adaptable, culturally aware, and ready to tackle logistical challenges is key. You'll need to be agile in your problem-solving approach and diplomatic in your communication. This is the reality of modern engineering projects, where your ability to work effectively within a diverse global framework is just as important as your technical skills. So go back to the example. You've been contracted by the local authorities to implement a desalination system. However, upon activation, you find the uptake surprisingly low. That is to say, nobody wants to use your system. The community has long relied on traditional methods of collecting rainwater in communal barrels, which serves more than a practical purpose. It's a cornerstone of community unity and genuinity. Recognizing the importance of these traditions, you understand that the success of your project hinges on gaining the community's confidence. To do this, you immerse yourself in their culture, learning from their established water rituals. This insight reveals that the communal barrels are a cherished part of local heritage. Adapting your approach, you decide to complement rather than replace the existing system. You ingeniously integrate the new desalination technology with traditional barrels. By doing so, you preserve the community's heritage while providing an improved source of water. Furthermore, you engage the locals in maintenance process using materials and techniques that resonate with their conventional practices. This not only secures the project's acceptance, but also ensures its sustainability through community ownership and familiarity. All right, now let me take you back to the early days when I was a young petroleum engineer in Savannah, Georgia. Our company was a hub for international collaboration. We often had clients and consultants from around the globe come to visit us. They wanted to ask us how to do this since we had so much experience. I quickly became the unofficial cultural liaison, especially for our German visitors. One memorable consultant, Thilo von der Grun, was brilliant in his field but often unaware of local customs. His directness, a common communication style in Germany, sometimes came off as impolite in southern contexts where indirect communication and certain gentility in interactions are the norm. I found myself in the role of cultural interpreter, smoothing over ruffled feathers, explaining to the locals that Thilo didn't mean any offense. He was simply operating with the norms of his culture. It was like explaining the innocence of a child who hasn't yet learned the social graces of a new environment. In my role, we often acted as intermediaries for our German clients in international dealings. On one occasion, a cultural misstep had significant repercussions. Our client had been making strides in India, a market where business structures were deeply rooted in family ties. The hierarchy within the business is generational, with senior family members holding top positions while younger ones learn the ropes. During a critical negotiation, a key German employee made a comment. While it might have been just considered rude back in Germany, in the Indian context, It was profoundly offensive, especially considering it was directed towards a young woman who was part of the family that owned the business. The fallout was immediate and severe. The deal fell through, and the incident caused a ripple effect. Word spread quickly within the tight-knit business community, and our client found themselves informally blacklisted, with local companies refusing to engage with them or their affiliates in any way. You have to remember, bridging a language barrier and a cultural barrier are very different. If you want to do business in Japan, you're better off sending someone from your firm to live in Japan and consult with another firm for a few months so they can get caught up on the culture. While this is going on, you really should be hiring a Japanese native who speaks English and teach them about your business. Having a translator is not enough. That translator needs to understand your business, specifically the business model, the technical jargon, and the project goals. When you go to negotiate, these two people should be sitting right next to each other. So one person has a very strong understanding of the business and some understanding of Japanese cultural norms. The other one is a fluent Japanese speaker who is fluent in Japanese culture, who understands your project and your goals. Further, when it comes to negotiation, when it comes time to negotiate, take the translator's advice. If the translator tells you to put the oldest person at the head of the table and pretend he's making all the decisions, do that. Now I want you to rewind. I know I've talked about it before, but it's important here. During the early days of natural gas usage in the United States, Americans with their pioneering spirit were willing to experiment with new energy sources despite the risks. There was a period of trial and error with a let's try it and see what happens attitude prevailing. This approach led to a series of learning experiences, some of which were quite harsh. However, each incident, new rules were drafted, leading to gradual refinement of safety practices. Across the Atlantic, Europeans were watching closely. Initially wary, they deemed natural gas too hazardous for widespread use, preferring to err on the side of caution. It wasn't until ASME, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, stepped in and codified a set of rules that natural gas began to be seen as viable, safe energy source. These rules, born from decades of American ingenuity and iteration, provided a blueprint that Europeans can trust. One example of the differing standards is the design of natural gas pumping stations. In the US, the regulations are stringent. Every station must be built on top of a bowl-like concrete structure capable of containing the volume of the largest pump running at full capacity for a half hour. This is a safeguard against the unthinkable, a complete system failure. In Europe, the approach is more measured. The bowl is still a requirement, but the volume it must contain is based on the duration that the safety system will permit the largest pump to operate. So that is to say, if the largest pump will only operate for 5 seconds after system failure, the bowl only needs to hold that much volume. It's a subtle but telling difference, reflecting a more conservative estimation of risk. So after our challenging experience in India, it became clear that understanding cultural norms was only part of the equation. Equally vital was navigating the intricate web of local regulations. In a subsequent venture, we were consulting for a different German client on a natural gas import terminal project in India. This ambitious project involved advanced technology in a market not fully accustomed to such developments, and the client had underestimated the complexity of Indian environmental and labor laws. The German team was insistent on building new infrastructure, while the US team suggested a floating storage regasification unit, FSRU, to sidestep many of the local regulations. Despite our reservations, we proceeded with the client's preference, which led us into a thicket of unforeseen regulation challenges. Our technical acumen was strong, yet we found ourselves navigating a labyrinth of Indian regulations that were starkly different from the European and American. A notable issue was the disparity between German and Indian standards. The German team presumed that meeting German stringent regulations would suffice for Indian compliance. Mistaken belief. For example, the chosen site for the terminal, suitable under German or US norms, did not meet the Indian regulation, which required regasification to be conducted away from the residential areas in an approved industrial zone. This led to a substantial reevaluation of the approach. I must admit, I'm still salty about this. The American team had foreseen this problem, and we actually brought it up. But the German expert pushed and insisted that we go this way without really providing us any coherent explanation as to why. Again, he was the customer, we were the one doing the work and being paid, so we did it his way. But it became clear that this man, even though he called himself an expert, didn't really know what he was talking about. So moving forward, we had to protect ourselves. We had a reputation on the line that we had to maintain. We were the ones engaging directly with the Indian counterparts, so we went out of our way to go find a legal team in India and a construction team in India so we could figure out, have you done something like this before? What's the closest that you've actually done something like this? What are the legal frameworks we actually have to follow? Because our experts clearly aren't. These firms, despite being competitors, provided us with invaluable insight into actual regulations feasible projects. This experience underscored the importance of local partnership and the need to balance technical expertise with a deep understanding of the regulatory landscape to navigate the complexities of international engineering projects successfully. Without exceptions, there is a well-observed correlation between high-quality standards and operational efficiency. The stereotype, which has its roots in repeated observation, suggests that a commitment to quality often serves as a buffer against unforeseen complications. By establishing a reputation for reliability, a firm can earn a degree of goodwill as clients are generally more forgiving of occasional mishaps from those known for their high standards. Moreover, this reliability often translates into efficiency gains. These gains manifest not just in terms of defect reduction and the avoidance of rework, but also in the form of expedited delivery and enhanced product performance. Outcomes that are highly valued by clients. Investing in quality, therefore, isn't just about avoiding errors, it's about building a foundation for sustained client trust and satisfaction. So how do you do that? Well, ethical practices are the cornerstone of trust in any business relationship. In global engineering, where projects can span different countries with varying legal systems and cultural expectations, maintaining a consistent ethical stance is paramount. When clients, partners, and local communities see that a firm adheres to high ethical standards, it lays a foundation of trust. This trust is especially important when entering new markets or embarking on projects with significant social and environmental impacts. In a crowded marketplace, reputation for ethical conduct can be a significant differentiator. Clients looking for international partners often seek more than just technical experts. They want a firm that they can rely on to make decisions that are not only economically sound but also socially responsible. A firm that has built a reputation for ethical practices can stand out among competitors, attracting clients who value integrity and responsibility. Ethical dealings are not just about the immediate project at hand, they're about building a foundation for the future. When a firm is known for its ethical practices, it's not only fostering repeated business from satisfied clients, but also earns referrals. These long-term relationships can become a sustainable source of business, providing stability and growth. Moreover, in many cultures, business is personal. And relationships built on trust and ethical dealings can lead to partnerships that can span decades. The integration of ethical practices into the fabric of a firm's operations and culture is not just a moral imperative, but a strategic one. It builds trust, creates a competitive edge, and fosters long-term relationships that are crucial for success in global engineering arena. When a team is composed of members from different backgrounds, cultures, and disciplines, it naturally brings a wealth of perspective to the table. The diversity is a breeding ground for innovation as it challenges the status quo and encourages creative problem solving. Each team member's unique viewpoint can contribute to a more holistic approach to engineering challenges, leading to solutions that are not only effective but also innovative. Ethical practices ensure that all voices are heard and valued, which is crucial for fostering an inclusive environment where diversity thrives. Ethical practices in global engineering are often a prerequisite for entering and establishing a presence in a new market. Many regions, especially those with emerging economies, are particularly sensitive to the ethical track record of foreign companies. Firms that are known for their ethical dealings are more likely to be welcomed by local governments and communities, paving the way for successful market entry and expansion. Trustworthiness becomes a key asset as it assures potential partners and customers that the firm is committed to a fair practice and responsible operations. An ethical approach to collaboration is inherently inclusive and encourages the open exchange of knowledge. When the team members feel respected and valued, they are more likely to contribute their expertise and insights. This sharing of knowledge not only enhances the capabilities of the individual, but also strengthens the team collectively. As knowledge is shared, the team's ability to innovate and tackle complex problems improves. Moreover, this shared knowledge can lead to the development of best practices that can be applied across various projects and contexts, further enhancing the firm's capabilities. In essence, ethical practices are not just about avoiding negative outcomes. They're a proactive strategy that facilitates the rich exchange of ideas, access to new opportunities, and collective growth. They are the gateway to global collaboration, enabling firms to harness the full potential of their diverse teams and to operate successfully in the international arena. In the realm of global engineering, ethical practices not only pave the way for superior project outcomes, but also bridges of trust and collaboration across diverse cultures and regions. As engineers, it's our responsibility to ensure that our solutions are universally acceptable, applicable, sustainable, and culturally sensitive. All right, so we're going to go over the case today. In the competitive arena of international business, your role at a large multinational company comes with a complex set of challenges and decisions. Economic pressures have steered the company's strategy towards overseas production, a move driven by several key factors. First, there's the labor cost. The products our company specializes in are labor-intensive, necessitating a large workforce. To remain financially viable and competitive, you've turned to markets where labor costs are significantly lower than in the US, enabling the company to maintain a cost-effective production line without compromising on output. Manufacturing within the United States comes with a stringent set of laws and regulations that can add to the operational cost and complexity. By shifting production overseas, the company can navigate a different regulation landscape that may offer more flexibility and reduced bureaucratic overhead. By producing goods in the same region where they are sold, the company can sidestep tariffs and trade barriers that would otherwise apply to import products. This not only reduces costs, but also simplifies the supply chain and market entry strategies. And there's the transport cost. Proximity to the market when manufacturing overseas can significantly reduce transportation costs. You actually have to pay for the boat to ship the product. Part of your iPod's cost or your iPhone's cost is the act of shipping it from China to the US. When you make the product in the country where it's going to be consumed, the logistical advantages ensures that the product can be delivered more quickly, more economically, enhancing the company's ability to respond to market demands. And then there's some government incentives. Some foreign governments offer subsidies and incentives to attract foreign investment into their manufacturing sectors. These incentives can take various forms, such as a tax break, grants, or infrastructure support, making the prospect of overseas production even more attractive. As a representative for the company, you are tasked with overseeing this transition to overseas production. This involves not just logistical and finance aspects, but also the ethical considerations of such a move. Now, stop for a minute and think. How will you balance the economic benefits with the responsibilities to uphold the company's values and maintain its reputation in the global market? This might be a good time to pause and think the video. All right, so the image on the right, what is that? That is a fire diamond. It is telling you what what main things you should be worried about this chemical. One of them has a W with a line through it. If you are unfamiliar with this symbol, now would be a good time to learn it. If you see a chemical and you see a W with a line through it on its fire diamond, that means it explodes when it's put into contact with water. Chemicals that do this include sodium, potassium, and lithium. One of the big concerns with lithium-ion batteries is when they light on fire, the only way to put the fire out is to let them finish burning. Fire departments typically do not have the infrastructure to put these fires out because spraying them with water not only could electrocute the firemen, but could make the fire worse. So, if you were to encourage somebody to work with this stuff because it was one of the key ingredients in your product, you would want to make sure that they knew what that symbol meant and they knew how to handle it in the unlikely event that a fire started. In the US, if your company has a lot of chemicals, specifically chemicals like this, you actually have to go contact the local EMTs and fire department. It's not uncommon in the US, especially Rhode Island, that if you own a machine shop and that machine shop orders bricks of magnesium, I don't know why they would do this, but I know this is a thing. When that brick of magnesium lights on fire, there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to notify the local fire department not when it lights on fire, but the fact that you've ordered it and that it's going to be in your facility for an extended period of time. Now, your facility has something that's IP protected, and unfortunately, the locals do not care. The moment you tell them the specifics of the IP, they're going to share it. So you have to put in protections. You have to make sure the people working for you don't actually need to know the IP to get the job done. That is specifically, how do I make this pesticide? So you only train a handful of people on the specifics. You pay them well so they understand the needs of this particular secret being kept. You ensure that they'll actually keep that secret, and you keep them on the books. As to the people you do not explain it to, because they will share it. In their culture, that is normal. And the idea of not sharing it is rude. In addition, part of the method you've decided to protect yourself was, instead of using the technical names for the various chemicals, you use the nicknames. So that is to say, you call it Mick, Alpha N, and 7. Now, the local partners, again, absolutely will share how this product is made, and you don't want them to do that. So I want you to think about, are you going about this ethically by not sharing that information? All right, so the regulations. So again, where you're making this product, regulations aren't so stringent. You can do whatever you want, more or less. But I want you to look at the storage tank. We're going to look at it again later. Was that something you want to work with? Regardless of what it stores, it might store water. Do you want to work with that tank? Does it look gross? Now, these stringent regulations that we have in the US, do you think we have stringent regulations because the US loves regulations, or do you think we have regulations because somebody died? And the country that this product's being made in, no one's died of it yet. All right. Now, the company, being that it has to keep a secret and has to be picky about who it hires, has had some problems. It can't hire from the full pool of population in the area. There's only a particular group of people you can hire from who will keep a secret. In addition to that, under normal considerations, when your pool of people you can hire from gets marginalized for some reason, there's an upgrowth in wages. This facility has decided to not change the pay rate. And I don't mean they've decided to keep it the same relatively. I mean it literally hasn't changed in the last 30 years. Entry level 30 years ago and entry level today are the same. I'm frustrated to say this now. It doesn't matter where you work, this is going to be a barrier that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to deal with somebody who tells you straightforward, I made 40 grand doing that job when I got out of college. You should be happy with 40 grand as well. And they won't understand what inflation is. Would you want to work somewhere with a person who's offering you money doesn't understand inflation, doesn't understand why they should pay you more than what they were paid 30 years ago? So, being that the wages aren't changing, the quality of laborer is going down. So, you've already limited your pool of people you can hire from. The quality of the people are going down. Do you think these people are particularly well educated? Do they speak English well? Can they read English? These are important things to think about. Additionally, there's no clear path to promotion. The guy who's been managing the facility has been managing the facility for 30 years. In other organizations, there's this concept. I'm going to use the dirty one because it's funny, but it's sit, get your job done, and get off the pot. That is to say, if you can't get promoted in 2 to 5 years from the position you're in, you're fired. The people underneath you, the quality of their work is going to go down if you do not get promoted, because they're going to see that they have nowhere to go. And so they're going to either move laterally or they're going to get hired by somebody else. In this case, it was the same manager for 30 years. So this is the part where if we were in class, I'd go around and ask you questions. This is an online thing, so what I want you to do is I want you to write an email to your team members. I want you to CC everybody on your team, and I want you to CC me. And I want you to tell me what you think of the case up to this point. Pause the video. Do not proceed until you've sent me the email. And so we're going to talk about what actually happened. So a company called Union Carbide, its name's changed a couple times. It gets bought and sold periodically to bypass regulations, but it's Union Carbide, UC. And it made a drug, or it made a pesticide called carbaryl. You made it by mixing methyl isocyanate, MIC, with 1-naphthol to make carbaryl. 1-naphthol is alpha N, carbaryl is 7. These are the two sets of chemicals that you mix together, and you get the last chemical, carbaryl. This is the storage tank that I was telling you about. It had the fire diamond on it, but it had rusted off. It was unreadable, and management had directed the employees to clean the tank. What they meant by clean the tank was not clear. Management had been management for 30 years, and clean the tank always meant the same thing to him, even though that there was a high turnover rate. And so he hadn't trained them on what clean the tank actually meant. So they started spraying the tank with water. This incident underscores the critical importance of thorough training and knowledge of material handling. including their reactive properties. It highlights the necessity for clear communication of safety procedures in the presence of appropriate emergency response. The situation escalated due to a lack of awareness about chemicals' reactivity with water, a detail that should have been communicated to all employees dealing with such hazards and the local population. So the MIC fire started. A small hole formed on the outside of the tank. The tank was well over 30 years old. A tank like that, you would power wash about once every 2 years and you would repaint it. You can go back to that slide if you'd like, but you can see that tank had been pretty rusty. Nobody was taking care of it. So if you don't take care of a tank like that for 30 years, the rust will go all the way through. And when you go to clean it, you will spray the rust off and most likely there will be a hole, which there was. The hole started spitting out fire, so the employees started spraying the fire with water. The heat from the fire caused the hole to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the employees just kept spraying more and more water on it because that's the logical thing to do. If you don't know any better and you see a fire, it makes sense to spray water on it. That's why a lot of times in emergency situations, they go out of their way to make it so you can't accidentally make the situation worse. In big kitchens, the fire suppressant doesn't allow you to spray oil with water. It gives you something else to spray the oil with. If there's a chance of a high electrical fire, they give you a suppressant that is non-conductive so you won't shock yourself. This facility, unfortunately, at one point in time, had the equipment to put that fire out. However, it was 30 years old. It had gone bad. Had they even known to use it, it wouldn't have worked. So, fire suppressant didn't work. Fire just got bigger. Fire released an enormous amount of heat. The worst happened. There was a toxic plume. MIC is deadly. That's why you keep it in a tank. And you do not need a lot of it to kill you. So, there was a series of disasters that happened simultaneously. First of all, this happened in the dead of night. People started just dying around 1 in the morning because 40 tons of MIC was just drifting through the air. Now, some people had the wherewithal to get up and run, but Bhopal, India is very densely populated. 4,000 people running away causes a panic. And then there was a human crush. That human crush, in addition to the MIC, caused 12,000 deaths. Over 500,000 people were injured. All for something that was very preventable. Now, this came from a conservative judge from the Supreme Court. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have the right to do and what you should do. Union Carbide did not break any laws. However, they knew better. What they did would not have been permitted in the U.S. Had they done it in the U.S., they'd have gone to jail. They knew they shouldn't have been doing what they were doing, but because it saved them money, they did it anyway. There are times where you could advocate, yeah, I shouldn't have to do that or follow that rule. But if it's one of those rules that was made because somebody died, you absolutely should be following that rule.